Okay, hello.
So, what if I was to tell you, and I've already kind of like partially told you, what if I was to tell you that the writing for the Eldar is quite sparse?
Shocking.
Yeah. Well, comparative, I think it's because it's like an alien mindset, and it's kind of it's hard to represent. I think the thought process of intelligent, advanced beings.
Yeah, that's supposed to be beyond.
Yeah, especially if you're not like super confident in yourself. If you're like, man, I'm kind of dumb. How do you come up with intelligent things if you're not sure you can actually represent it properly? Also, like the Drukhari are kind of easier to write for because they're assholes, like actual assholes.
Right?
And but then again, I guess it's harder to write for the Drukhari, the Dark Eldar, because then you have to write like horrific scenes.
Well, some people write a lot, right? And
Yeah,
separate themselves from it. It's not me thinking this, it's the Drukari.
yeah, yeah, totally. Um, anyway, there's a lot of people who don't like the earlier. I think it's the earlier Eldar writing because there were some people like the way they wrote they didn't like, and as I remember, there was a lot of like writing from the perspective of the Imperium or like the Space Marines.
Yeah, which obviously are going to be biased in a certain direction.
Yeah, and that's not to say that the people who've written books and things from those perspectives haven't written good books, but I'm going to talk about a certain J.C. Stearns and one book from Guy Haley.
Okay.
So, as I was researching, from what I was told and from what I can see, J.C. Stearns, who wrote quite a few kind of short stories or shorter novels on the Eldar, is actually really good at writing Eldar. So, this isn't like me signing off. I haven't read any of the books. I'm tempted. I kind of want to read a couple of these because one of them especially sounds really interesting. So I may read them and then I can talk about them in a
You trying to make me paint Eldar again? Is that what's going on?
no. Like
Not
I
yet.
I mean like there's a lot of cool Eldar you could paint. But,
Mm.
so we're gonna start off on the one I think is probably the most interesting, which is called Void Crossed.
Mm-hmm.
The description is essentially it's like Romeo and Juliet, but one is a Drukhari and one is a Craftworld Eldar. Also, they want to kill each other.
Okay.
Apparently, Void Crossed is a bit more Dark Eldar centered than Eldar, but there's a lot of Eldar in it, so I
Yeah,
think
there
it
would
can
be with
count.
that, right? I
Um,
think that'd be fun, like more retellings of classical works,
yeah,
but
yeah.
with the spins on it.
So I don't know a super load about this one. I did my best to kind of track it down, but I think interestingly, and this says a lot for this says a lot for uh Warhammer like 40k fans and
Mm-hmm.
Games Workshop fans and stuff. I think is that like they'll reference these books, but they won't tell you what happens in them.
Yeah, it's not spoilery. You want to go and
So
find out yourself.
yeah, they'll give you the synopsis, but they won't like just tell you all the things that happened, which means you need to go and get the book and read it, which I think is really cool because as much as I'd love to give you a total rundown of the story, I'll have to go and like buy it so I can talk about it properly. Which I'm down for because I should read more 40k
Support
novels.
authors.
Yes. So essentially, the description, the summary of Voidcrossed is the world of Dunwidian has seen many wars. For untold centuries, the ancient webway gate there was guarded by Eldari outcasts until the coming of the Imperium. For centuries, the humans fought against raids by savage orcs until eventually the greenskins prevailed and left. So essentially, we've got the Exodites, and then the Imperium turned up and took it over, like killed all the Exodites and took over the world. And then the orcs turned up and killed all killed all the Imperium, and then left. So the world's just a dead world.
Oh,
It
nothing's
was
there.
like,
What a waste.
well, there's a webway. There's an
There's a
ancient
webway,
webway gate
yeah.
there. Yeah.
Okay.
Now the world is a battleground once again as Eldari of the Craftworlds battle their Drukhari kin for control of the strategically vital portal. For Archon Melandir of the Emerald Talon, that's a Drukhari. Archons are essentially like dark Eldar kings or like overlords. For Archon Melandir, this is more than a war of conquest, it is a battle for revenge. Somewhere on Dunwidian is a single Eldari he has sworn to kill, and he will stop at nothing to achieve his goal.
Dun dun dun.
So essentially, it's a story of like an angry ex-boyfriend who started a war on a planet because he's like, my girlfriend's there and she's trying to take something that we don't really. But that's just the excuse. He just wants to beat.
We broke up and I want the dog. You don't have
Yeah.
a yard, but I want the dog. Doesn't even like you, but I want
Essentially, yes. So I'm really interested in this one, just purely because it sounds intriguing and it sounds like it kind of, because one of the things that they don't go into too much and you don't think about too much, especially with Eldar and Dark Eldar, is like romance and these type of things.
Feelings. I could never.
So I wanna check this one out. As I said, there's not a super load on it.
No, that's good though. It leaves you to learn about it, doesn't it? And actually have to read it, as you say. So yeah.
So like basically, Melandir is the leader of the Cabal of the Emerald Talon, which is like a faction of Dark Eldar. And he was like, hey, the Craftworld Tierval is going to claim the webway portal on Dunwidian. So he like rouses his cabal and he's like, come on guys, let's go stop them from taking it over, and we can take it over ourselves. It's super strategically important, and
definitely not to be spiteful.
well, that was like the public reason. It was like getting it for his faction, for the Dark Eldar. But it turns out that he really did it because he was hoping that his former lover was amongst the forces of the Tierval Craftworld.
I guess you're gonna have to tell me if he ends up wanting to kill them or whether they get together in the end.
We could like these are the type of things that we could do as like additional goals.
40k book club.
Yeah, we could read a few books and talk about them in like extra videos or like an extra part of the stream.
For the universe that's unaware, I have a veritable fuck ton of books. Yes. Last time I counted, I have over 650 physical books and I have a Kindle. So, that
which could mean that it'll be very easy for us to do the 40k book club, or it could mean it's very difficult because you don't find the time to read the extra books, or you're very, very interested in reading more, so you'll read the books really, really willingly.
I tend to burn through a book in a day or 2 days, depending on the length. So it'll be fine.
If I find something like really appealing to me, I'll munch on that book in a day, easy. I won't get anything else done, but I'll totally
exactly. You just sit and that's all you do. Same.
So another book by J.C. Stearns that I think could be interesting is called Wraithbound.
Yeah, sorry, I'm just doing a little bit of tidying. There's the Wraithbone, isn't there? So I
Yes.
guess is being Wraithbound the when they're in Magic Stone Land.
Good guess, but not quite. Oh well, kind of. So essentially, this is based around the Craftworld Lugganath.
Right.
The Lugganath Craftworld Eldar are like grey helmet with like a yellow faceplate, and then like orange all over, essentially.
Bumblebees.
Sure. I'm not sure bumblebees are orange all over, but
well, they could be. You don't know.
So the Lugganath is kind of like very what's the best way to they're kind of corsairs. They like to be a little. I mean, they like the quick assaults and the bikes and all that type of thing.
Yeah.
So a lot of the other craft worlds kind of look down on them because they basically consider all of their worlds lost. Their logo, their like rune for the craft world Lugganath, it is essentially like a sun setting or like a sunset.
Yeah.
Which is referencing the fact that they've just lost all of their empire and all of their stars and
just brag about that, everyone.
Yeah. But Lugganath's goal is essentially to leave real space, like reality, essentially, by finding a webway gate that will let their craft world go through and basically hide in a section of the warp, essentially. Somewhere where chaos isn't, but they can kind of
chill out
they can kind of have a new home away from the Eldar Empire, the remnants of the Empire, like dying out.
Oh.
They also like the Harlequins. They try and be friends with the Harlequins when they can. And because of obviously the Harlequins are a bit more knowledgeable of like webways and.
Oh, so they're just sucking up, really?
Yeah, a little bit. So this story that we're talking about, Wraithbound, is about a Eldar called Sioki or Siosi. I'm not sure how it's pronounced. Who was an Eldar of the Lugganath Craftworld. And this story, kind of like the beginning of, I'm going to say Sioki just to stay.
Yeah, stick with one.
It's Seoci. Siosi?
S-O...
Sioki?
Yeah, Sioki is fine. I know what you mean.
Sioki, okay.
Sure.
So Sioki had lived a pretty long Eldar life and had gone over like multiple paths.
Yeah, because you have to train up in different paths unless you want to be an Exarch in the specific one. Okay.
At one point, he almost became trapped on the path of the poet, and like he basically spent way too long on the path of the poet and couldn't get out. And eventually he met another Eldar called Ailios, Ailios, who basically like saved him from
poetry.
Yeah, saved him from poetry, basically. And fittingly, they ended up becoming lovers.
Yeah.
However, a side effect of spending too long on the path and basically almost becoming an exarch poet, I guess, is he occasionally accidentally composes poems while he's like talking.
Oh my god, they're so dramatic.
They really are, aren't they?
Sorry, I was doing some green. I'm like, ugh, this guy.
So he basically he called her Sorrow Rose, and she called him Waterlen. I don't know why, but that's
just what they
so
called each other.
once they kind of became lovers and fell in love and etc. They started walking the paths together.
Oh.
And they ended up on the path of the seer. Uh, as they were going, they ended up in a battle where a lot of Eldar died. And Aelios, the one who saved him from the poet, became trapped.
Oh no.
So couldn't leave the path of the seer.
No, but we need her.
Yeah. Which meant that Sioki, when he moved on to the path of the hunter, she had to stay. And they couldn't go with each other, basically. Sioki joined the Searing Zephyrs and became a Crimson Hunter aspect warrior. Crimson Hunters are essentially like basically pilots.
I just hit the camera. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Are you good? Do we need to take a moment or?
My brain's tripping over this painting, but tell me about the pilots.
Okay. So basically, they tend to pilot like interceptors, like really fast, like fighter ships.
Yeah.
It's basically like dogfighting and marksmanship and air-to-air combat, and that's the majority of what they do. So Sioki became a Crimson Hunter essentially, and was a pilot. Now, a little bit later on, while Aelios is still like,
I can't. He left her. What a bitch.
Well, this is the thing about the Eldar paths is you have to leave if you walk the path and it's dangerous. So essentially, like Aelios just couldn't leave the path of the seer. I'm gonna guess because I don't know, and I'll have to read the book probably to find out. I'm guessing that Aelios either messed up and didn't predict something that she should have, or she just couldn't handle all the Eldar being killed in this battle, and she was like, I have to be a seer so I can stop this happening again.
Yeah.
Which is more like her failure than his.
Still.
Like he was able to leave the path and carry on.
Yeah, where she became focused on it rather than maybe we'll have to see.
Essentially, the way I see the Eldar and the paths is the goal is to become a complete being, and the more paths you can go through, the more complete you can make yourself.
Yeah.
So essentially, Exarchs, while they're amazing warriors and they're basically failures
because they're so they're not well rounded. They're not well adjusted.
Yeah, I one of the things I think is really interesting about the Eldar is as arrogant and as stupid and as fucked up as the Eldar can be, I kind of see them as pursuing a goal towards essentially ascension.
Yeah.
And the paths of the way they do it. So if you can walk all of the paths, you'll kind of have a complete
self.
You'll be a complete being almost, which I think is really interesting. And I think it's really interesting that an Exarch is super useful to defend the Eldar, to fight the enemies and all this type of thing, but is also has failed to become a complete being, and so therefore just kind of commits themselves to an aspect of being to help the overall Eldar existence kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I know I find that's kind of interesting. So anyway, in a mission, as a Crimson Hunter, Lugganath, along with some Corsairs that they're mates with, decided to attack a orc, basically try and kill this orc. Do you know what big mechs are? Well, okay, so do you know what mech boys are?
Basically, like the engineers, the guys that make stuff.
Yeah, they're crazy orcs who make weird contraptions.
Hmm.
So big mechs are essentially like a mech boy who is bigger and stronger and also weirder. You know, they'll make aliens. No,
Yeah.
sorry, Alien.
Yeah.
When Ripley fights the alien with the big walker. No,
that's aliens actually.
Yeah, you know she fights the thing with the big walker thing.
Yeah.
Think that, but completely enclosed and has like laser beams like coming out the top and stuff. That's the type of shit they make.
Why?
Like
to fight aliens, I suppose.
You know what? You know what's a really good thing is a shock attack gun. That's a great example of what the big mechs make. A shock attack gun is the weirdest fucking gun that has like ever existed. Essentially, it's a teleporter.
But it's a... Okay, so does it teleport the enemy away?
No. So what it does is it basically like projects a force field through the warp, beginning where the barrel of the gun ends, and ending where the gun is aiming, like kind of roughly. The portals are like little black holes. What they do with that is they go and get like a bag full of snotlings. You know snotlings, right?
I think so.
So you know Gretchen. Gretchen are like goblins, but 40k.
Yeah.
So snotlings are like the smaller version. They're essentially like it's similar to gnomes and dwarves. You know, like so you have dwarves are like kind of a bit bigger, a bit more, you know.
Yeah. Sturdier.
Yeah. And then the snotlings are like gnomes, but orc gnomes basically. They're little crazy assholes who run around and fuck shit up. If you get snotlings in your rogue trader ship, you have to go in like a flamethrower and like, clear that shit out.
Get them out of there.
When I was GMing a rogue trader session, I had one of my orc characters leave a crate of snotlings as a joke. They like the rogue trader and the orc had like a trade between them.
Mm-hmm.
And in the end, the orc was like, oh, and here's like an extra thing that you can have as like a thank you. And when they opened it up, it was full of snotlings.
And then they're everywhere.
Like, ran all over the ship, and he was like, "Ha, funny joke," because the orcs are weird like that. But essentially, the operator of the gun goes and gets a bag full of snotlings, shoves them into the gun, and then they get fired out through teleported through the warp, and basically the reason it's so effective and so weird is they can appear inside the target.
Oh, so it could just appear, a snotling could just appear in a rib cage.
Inside a Space Marine's rib cage, yes.
Oh boy.
So it doesn't matter what armor you have if it appears inside you.
Yeah. Oh no.
So that's a shock attack gun. Shock attack guns are, you know what? Just purely because I'm going to send you a picture of one of the minis.
Okay, well bear with me because
oh yeah.
Yeah, girl's painting.
How's it going?
Difficult.
Okay.
I'm gonna pause my paint for a moment.
Yes. All right. Take stock for a second. So I sent you an image of the shock gun, shock attack.
Does it spin around?
Yeah, it spins around.
Oh, I love that. It's cute.
And can you see at the bottom right? It's got like a vacuum that's vacuuming up snotlings.
Oh,
How cool is
zoom in
that?
even more.
I love the orcs.
It's so ridiculous. Look at its little face. Like no.
So yes, that's the type of shit that the orc big mechs make. So you can understand them wanting to assassinate one, because you never know what the fuck those.
You don't know what they're gonna bring to the fight, yeah.
So this guy was called Gorkog Chrome Teeth. And it's essentially the reason they destroyed Chrome Teeth is that if they let him live, it would lead to the eventual destruction of their craft world due to an Imperial crusade.
But how? What? They just don't explain stuff, do they? There's a big old stretch there between kill the orc and an Imperial crusade.
I'm assuming they go into detail of it in the book.
Yeah.
But, I don't want to like look up further and ruin it, because that's the type of thing, you know, that will have you go read the book, and you know, I want to encourage that type of thing.
Yeah.
So it's essentially what I would assume is that Chrome Teeth got so big and so dangerous that the Imperials started a crusade. Once an Imperial crusade starts, they just kind of like wipe out all Xenos, and that's probably why. So Sioki, during the fight during one of the fights with the orc big mechs, forces, decided he was going to leave the path of the hunter. He was going to stop being a Crimson Hunter after seeing his lovers essentially like just murder and battle lust. Oh no, it wasn't his lovers. Sorry, it was Leosa, his exarch.
Right.
He basically saw how bloodthirsty and how much like war love that his exarch had. He was like, yeah, this kind of like this killing and death and destruction isn't for me. And you can kind of understand that, I guess, seeing as he almost got lost on the path to being a path of the poet. You know, like clearly this dude wasn't as bloodthirsty.
Well balanced, and yeah. Oh, he wants to go back. He could go back to poetry.
Yeah, like go back and become a poet and all that type of thing. However, when the Eldar were fighting Chrome Teeth, he launched his new flagship, which was called Beast Mother. It was a giant death ship of just destruction, and so obviously they had to get fighting it and destroy it, because that's probably the thing that causes the Imperial Crusade, right?
Probably.
So Sioki basically managed, after like a lot of death and destruction, Sioki managed to rally the remaining Crimson Hunters, and like basically, essentially very Star Wars. They led an attack on the ship and managed to take out its anti-gravity and power generators.
Get him.
Which basically meant that the ship crashed into the planet.
But the orcs believe.
Yeah, but still.
Oh, I guess that probably would have not helped.
Well, see, this is the thing: is if the orcs all see anti-gravity and power generators being destroyed, it's hard. You know,
they'll believe that it's gonna. Yeah.
Also, it depends how many orcs there were and how much.
True, and how messed up they are.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry, I've just had to say it. People are outside. I don't know what the fuck's going on. It's driving me insane.
All right, no
problem. Let me have a look.
Pause.
Yeah, my sister was tidying the garden but doesn't understand that other people
Yeah.
work. Okay. Right. Okay, so too many orcs believing that maybe perhaps they're crashing and it's going down.
Mm. So, uh, the Beast Mother like battleship essentially hit the planet, killed Chrome Teeth, and the mission was completed.
Yay.
Sioki, unfortunately, did not really survive.
Oh no.
Essentially, while the ship was crashing, Sioki, I think it doesn't go into massive detail, but I think basically took a hit and
Yeah.
luckily enough managed to get back and like was mortally wounded, but managed to basically, not like die randomly on the planet. Although he removed his war mask, which you know about the war masks, right?
No.
It when
I know
when
that they're wearing them.
like you can see one right now, like the mark. That's like their war mask.
Yeah.
It's when they commit to the path of the warrior, and they become like a howling banshee. They have a war mask, and
Yeah, like the Howling Banshee one has the big old speakers on
and
and such.
they essentially don't take it off until they leave the path.
Oh, I didn't know that bit.
Yeah. So he removes his war mask, basically being like, I no longer want to be
A
a warrior.
warrior.
Like I want to be.
Mm.
I've left the path, but because he went on the path of the seer for a while. He predicted that he would be called back after he died into service as a Wraith Fighter. And then after the battle, they recovered his Spirit Stone.
Don't even get to relax.
So a Wraith Fighter
Yeah, what
is essentially a it's a fighter aircraft that's piloted by a spirit seer. A spirit seer is someone who can communicate with the Wraithbone, the Infinity Circuit,
Yeah, with
the
the
Spirit Stones and everything.
spirit sounds.
What a Wraith Fighter is essentially a mini Infinity Circuit in a fighter ship, which like magnifies the abilities of the seer.
Yeah, of
Seer.
the pilot, I guess.
He can essentially like fire a wave of terror from his ship. Along with all of the weapons and everything. So he can the interesting thing about this actually, the Wraith Fighter, is it was intended to sever the links to the hive minds. So it was an anti-Tyranid ship, like weapon.
But is it utilized? It's used differently, or
well, this is the thing: is it's not used very often.
Yeah.
Because it can send the pilot insane.
Great.
Or literally they can just die essentially and get absorbed by the ship sometimes.
Oh. What happens in those instances?
Well, I mean, they die and get absorbed, and
well, they've got the spirit stone, and then everyone's just.
I mean, as I said, like it's like a mini Infinity Circuit.
Yeah.
It's
then I'm kind of like, could all
like
of the dead spirit stone folk in the Infinity Circuit then drive the ship, because they use the spirit stones to drive mechs sometimes and stuff, right?
Yeah, I think maybe they could use like basic stuff. I'm not 100% sure.
We need to do more research.
Yeah, that one's from what I know of the Hemlock Wraith Fighter, the guns fire via the will of the spirits. I think essentially the pilot connects with the spirits and everything is controlled through the spirits. So the ship, it's kind of like a dreadnought, except for you have a pilot. So basically, like, you know, it's the dreadnoughts are like slow moving, like, you know, and firing and stuff. This is like Top Gun jump cuts, dogfighting type stuff. So it might need a slightly more present mind.
Yes,
to, like,
more.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that makes total sense.
The interesting thing is, additionally, the like mind shock thing that was like designed to sever the hive mind can also mess up Necron warriors.
Why?
Don't know.
Oh.
Yeah. But yeah, it's like the Wraith Fighter is very controversial because of how dangerous and how fucked up it is. Like, it's almost an atrocity to the Eldars, because they're using their dead to spirit stones, but it's useful because you can sever the link to the hive mind, and
extreme
you can mess
cases,
up,
right?
Necron
Like messing
warriors
with Tyranids and stuff. You might need it.
Yeah,
but it's not the first choice.
Yeah. But essentially, Sioki got called back into service as a Wraith Fighter, which is really sad considering he decided to leave the path and he was, you know, more of a poet and
he wanted to just write poetry and be with his boo.
Yeah. So yeah, as I said, for both of those, you know, Wraithbound, Void Crossed, JC Stearns, I think they sound really interesting. I'm definitely going to give them a
read.
Personal read.
Good.
And then yeah, Loganath has had some really bad times. The Craftworld itself, aside from obviously losing Sioki, which was just that's enough to be
the worst.
Yeah, it's essentially, you know, they had a lot of problems with Nurgle.
Oh, I just pulled out the green paint.
Oh, there you go. Nurgle green.
Oh, there we go.
Pretty much they were ravaged by a disease, and so the Farseers and Loganath were like, hey, let's go look at Nurgle in the warp.
What are you up to, Nurgle?
Because like Nurgle had captured Isha, which was a god of like healing, an Eldar god of healing. And they were like, let's go look at Nurgle's domain, see if we can find Isha, because Nurgle also likes to fuck with disease. Maybe we can find like a cure for this disease that we've got in our Craftworld. So they projected themselves in, and they were searching. They found the Garden of Nurgle, which we won't talk about that. We'll save that for Nurgle maybe. But when they gazed upon the domain of Nurgle, like they were just attacked by demons, and they had to fight demons. Like they fucked up the garden. They, you know, etc. etc.
Messing with the poor man's garden.
And they were infected and consumed by the plague, this like disease that they've been trying to figure out a way to cure. And then instead of when they die, being, you know, drawn into their spirit stones, they were actually their souls were claimed by the warp, sucked into Nurgle's realm, and turned into trees that bore Nurgling fruits, which basically like spawns Nurglings.
So they should have just left well enough alone, really.
Yeah, really, like, this is the Eldar through and through, you know, like, these are farseers. They can see the future and shit. And they were like, no,
The next 5 minutes, that's fine.
let's go and visit Nurgle in the warp and see what happens. Well, you know what happens? You become fucking trees.
Maybe they wanted to be a
like
tree.
demon trees. No one wants to bear Nurgle fruit.
Probably true.
And then like later on, you know, like centuries or millennia later, they were attacked by a fleet by the Emperor's children.
Mm-hmm. What the trees were?
No. This is sorry. We're
like,
moving on.
What, the trees?
No. So they're attacked by the Emperor's children, who are Fulgrim and Slaanesh. So Fulgrim's the Primarch, and the god they worship is Slaanesh.
Aww.
So that wasn't fun for them because
they're just not having a good old time with it, really, are they?
Well, you see, the thing is Lugganath almost got destroyed by the Emperor's children. And the worst thing is they found out later that the person who like made it happen was a Harlequin.
But they like them.
Harlequins are Eldar, you know, they're just like a different faction. But this is where the Eldar stuff is fun, because the Eldar was called Sealandri Veilwalker, and they basically said they had to make the Emperor's children like lead them to attack Lugganath, because it would prevent greater deaths in the future.
Bloody Eldar. Well, they don't look into the future to save themselves, but they will to kill a bunch of others.
Yeah. There's another point, like, so that was a long time before 40k. You know, like this was like 34k basically. And then like in more recent times, like a bit before 40k, I guess maybe, the entire inner council of Lugganath was massacred by a Dark Eldar witch.
Burn the witch.
She basically was sent as a messenger, and the inner council were like, "Yo, what's up?" And then she like smashed a statue of Cain, and then used the shards to murder the entire council, and then jumped into a webway. Like basically, as she jumped through the webway, she took like a selfie.
I just want to do highlight.
She was like, click, yeah. Me and the gang hanging out at wherever.
But why did she do that?
Well, basically, she then turned up at Nagaroth, the capital of the Dark Eldar, and was like, "Look what I did!" And then she made her own cult, and loads of people like followed her, and basically her cult is like surrounded around improvised weaponry for assassination and murder and stuff. So
she just wanted to be a badass bitch, really. Then
I mean, it kind of sounds like she was a badass bitch. To be fair.
Yeah, no, I'm feeling that.
She formed her own cult and became like more powerful, like, and all it took was murdering the entire inner council of the fucking Lugganath.
What do they really do? Not much.
Yeah, you know, fuck them.
They can't survive one person.
But fun story is the Lugganath Craftworld did do some good things.
Oh.
They and this is like really recently in 40k. They destroyed a renegade chapter, a Chaos Renegade chapter of the Space Marines, like completely.
Good. They can be troublesome, right?
Yeah, yeah. They also stopped, well, helped to stop a demonic incursion and a cultist uprising, chaos cultist uprising on on some imperial worlds.
Not supposed to be helping the Imperial.
Well, sometimes they are. It depends if it helps them or not.
I guess. I mean, the whole universe versus helping the Imperium. I suppose you can help the Imperium.
Yeah.
Good.
And most recently, essentially, like right now in the current 40k like lore,
Mm-hmm.
they have sent their forces to go help against the Tyranids.
Yeah, we don't like no Tyranids, do we? So
Tyranids
I
are
was
bad.
thinking about the Tyranids earlier. That sounds weird, doesn't it? And I was
I mean,
thinking about how I always think that they're sort of mindless creatures, but they're not, are they?
it's kind of unclear, which is the interesting thing.
Because they have access to ships and travel, and so they can't be so mindless as to not. You know what I mean?
They're a hive mind. So what
Yeah.
is assumed is that somewhere out in the universe, not even the galaxy, but the universe, there is a consciousness to which all Tyranids are connected.
Right.
And that's like the one single consciousness that is pursuing consumption and everything. The scary thing about the scary thing about the Tyranids is that that consciousness and all of these Tyranids, as far as can be told, are running away from something.
Yeah, you mentioned that.
Yeah,
Yeah, you don't really want to find out what that is. I suppose.
yeah. Like they've literally traveled through the void between two galaxies, and they keep turning up in different parts of the galaxy.
Like, we
So like,
just want to
oh,
get away.
I think I will be able. This is like a random.
Aside, sorry, I do this a lot. Like,
No. It's good. It's good. I should be able to. Yeah. Check this out. So this is a map.
I'm ready.
No, it's not, because I'm not allowed to post that one. It is too large. This is a map. Tyranid Invasion fleets. So that right there is a list of the Tyranid Incursions. And as you can see, they're from like the north and south. It's like, how the fuck
Oh,
do they come from all of those
they just
directions?
turn up in the middle of no. Oh, God.
They just turn up from the edge of the galaxy. Like that's the entire galaxy. That's like hundreds of thousands of stars, let alone planets.
Jeez.
And they turn up from the edge of the galaxy and just kind of like creep in from different sides and different places.
What up? We're running away from something. We're not going to tell you what it is, though.
Yeah.
Thanks,
So yeah,
Tyranids.
there you go. And you on that map actually, you can see the Eye of Terror in the top left.
Yeah, I did
And
see that.
you can see like where the galaxy has been torn in half by the rift. You see all that purple that goes across?
Yeah.
That's what happened with the whole Cadia thing, I believe. I'm just gonna double check that.
No worries. I'll keep highlighting.
Because I might. Oh no, I'm a little bit wrong on that actually. Sorry.
How dare you give me
I'm
false
going
information?
to. This one is actually more accurate.
Okay.
This is like this is how the world currently looks essentially. Sorry, the world. This is how the galaxy currently looks. Currently,
Whoa, that is like, I mean,
um,
zoom way out on that one.
yeah.
Okay, it's so sparkly.
So all of that green is like warp fuckery.
Mm, yeah.
And you can see like the entirety of like the north, east, and southwest have been like ripped in half. and that's essentially like warp storm, so you can't travel through that. You can't really get through it very well, and I think there's a couple of places that might be bridged. There's a couple of places that look a bit thinner. But,
Danger zone.
So the entirety of the galaxy has been like thrown into well, yeah, chaos.
Chaos.
Yeah. And chaos is like coming through parts of the rip and tears, and got the Eye Terror up there. It's all pretty rough. Fun fact, I think, yeah. So you see at the top left where you have the halo stars.
Let me look again. Yes.
So the Calixis sector is essentially like the borderland to the Rogue Trader setting.
Oh.
So kind of around the H probably in Halo Stars is where Rogue Traders kind of like set, maybe even further, like at the edge of the top left of the map there.
They're just heading out off into the vast.
Yes, yeah, so
Nothing suspicious.
That's the basic setting for Rogue Trader if you run by the like standard Rogue Trader maps and whatnot. So
yeah.
It's really far out from like the core of the galaxy, which makes sense.
Which is why you're allowed to do crimes like talking to Xenos.
Although, having said that, you see like you can obviously see like where it says the Maelstrom, for example, right in the middle of the big glob of green in the middle.
Yeah.
That's basically the center of the galaxy.
Yeah.
If you go straight left from there, you can see the blue tagged Terra and Mars.
Yeah.
That's
Terra's Earth, right? So
yeah. Yeah, that's essentially Earth. So you can see like how far away from the center Earth is and how it's like. Yeah.
What do you mean we're not the center of the universe?
We are not the center.
Imagine.
But yeah. So that's. Sorry, that was a really big sidebar, wasn't it?
Tyranids just turning up out of nowhere. Here's the entire universe, by the way.
In the notes, I guess I'll just put Tyranids and the universe. Sure. Okay. But yes, which is actually it's quite. I swear to God, I swear to Emperor, I didn't plan this. But it's quite a nice sidebar because of the next book we're going to talk about.
Ooh.
Which is Valador by Guy Haley. It basically showcases one of the biggest battles of the 40k of the millennia 40k.
Yeah.
Where it was Craftworld Aeldari, Bieltan, and the Cabal of the Black Heart, which is like I think the largest cabal in the Dark Eldar, all joined forces to fight the Tyranids from two hive fleets, Leviathan and Behemoth, which are like two of the larger.
Yeah, I noticed that on the map there.
Yeah.
Well, spooky.
So, I think one of the more recent ones is Hive Fleet Oribus, which is up from the north. So that's why currently the Tyranids are so worrying, because all of the other ones came from the south.
These ones are just like, turning up out of nowhere.
Yeah, like on the bottom left you've got Leviathan, and then I think the middle, the one closest to the middle is I think that's Behemoth. So they're fairly large invasions by.
We don't need any more invasions. We're still dealing with the other ones.
No, we're quite happy with the ones we have. Thank you. In fact, could you take this one away, please?
I'm quite full.
So yeah, they kind of got together to fight off Leviathan and Behemoth and etc. Which I think could be a really interesting. I'm curious to read this one. They like the description basically says the campaign was already awesome, and this book turned it into a masterpiece.
Oh.
So I'm curious to read Valador. It's based around the planet Valador, where the fight happened, and it's basically where the two hive fleets met, essentially.
Oh man, imagine just like chilling out, living your little life. Hive
So
fleet.
Eanden is the craft world that will essentially focus on, I guess, because this was their fault.
It's always their fault.
They're like completely yellow with blue helmets.
Right.
That's like their
The thing.
and they're probably the most magnificent and biggest and greatest craft world.
Okay.
The problem is it is the biggest, and it was the most glorious, and it was the most amazing. But this is 40k.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of empty now.
Oh.
So essentially, like a while before what we're talking about now, it went through a little phase, and when I say little, I mean massive, really long, of being raided by chaos. There was an orc called Wreckfist who led a warg, like essentially straight through them.
We're walking here.
And they were having trouble dealing with these things, and then High Fleet Kraken turned up.
Cool. Just what they need.
So legitimately, tens of thousands of Eldar were killed by the invasion of Kraken. And like they initially were doing well against the Tyranids
until
more turned up. Because the Tyranids aren't skilled at warfare at all.
They just have numbers.
Yeah, well, they have numbers and they have no psychology, really. There's no, because they're all hive mind. It's essentially like the Necrons, except for without the drawbacks of the Necrons, like having personalities and stuff.
The drawbacks.
Yeah, well, you know.
Yeah, no, it would be with to the commanders, right? Just tell them to go. Do as you're told.
To give you an idea of how fucking ridiculous the Tyranids are, even though they're kind of laughed at on the tabletop because they're not very good. The Eldar can essentially, through like superior tactics and technology, can kill 5,000 Tyranids for every Eldar dead, and they're still massively outnumbered and still gonna lose. So, like, imagine being like a regular Eldar trooper, and you know, like you have cool technology, you have cool gun, you can like kill a you know, a Hormigant reasonably easily. Like let's put that into human terms.
Yes, please.
Imagine being a World War II trooper, right?
Yeah.
And someone plonks you in a trench and says, you need to kill 5,000 Germans.
Like,
And like if every single one of you sitting in this trench right now doesn't kill 5,000 Germans before you die, the entirety of our country will be consumed and destroyed.
No pressure.
And even if you do, you're not guaranteed because they just keep coming.
Who knows, really?
So, essentially, yeah, that's what it's like facing the Tyranids. And the Eanden Craftworld did the only thing essentially it could think to do, which was basically run away.
Yeah, I was hoping that was going to be the answer. Run away.
what they essentially did. There's also a bit of a story with Prince Uriel, who is someone who was like the royalty on Eanden, like an Eldar, who got exiled a long time earlier, and he kind of came back and helped them out. He basically saved them just as they're about to be overrun. Um, but the thing is they basically created an artificial warp storm so they could run away. And they destroyed a shit ton of Tyranids. But again, that doesn't really matter because
there's always more.
Yeah, I mean, comparatively, that's not that many, you know? It's like hundreds of bioships got destroyed in the artificial warp storm. What does that mean when there's millions?
Yeah. Man, that'd be horrible.
And the Eldar were like, okay, cool. We destroyed the fleet, you know, or like we at the very least, like we got rid of them, so they can't do anything. Later on, a Farseer.
Farseers always cause trouble. We shouldn't have those.
Farseer learned that basically the warp spat out this like portion of High Fleet Kraken into reality again, and was just like, here, have it back. And then the Tyranids like popped out like, yo, what up, hungry?
What up? I wasn't finished.
And the Tyranids were spat back out directly into the path of High Fleet Leviathan, near an imperial world called Valador.
Well, they're dead.
So one of the things that everyone in the 40k universe, aside from the Tyranids probably, have been worried about is a Hive fleet combining with another Hive fleet.
Yeah, that's going to be messy.
Well, because so the way that the Tyranids operate, they absorb biomatter and evolve based on what they absorb. So if they absorb an Eldar world, or like if they absorb like a craft world, they will evolve more psychic, and they'll have more like psycho units and stuff.
Oh no, so we don't like that at all.
Each of the hive worlds are quite not unique, but they have kind of unique strains to them.
Yeah.
So essentially, the Eldar, to save themselves, like set up a situation where maybe two hive fleets could merge together and turn into a new threat that could be like because it hasn't happened as far as I know. That would be ridiculous and then could be super dangerous. Or who knows? Like maybe they'll eat each
other. But
it's
the Imperium of Man's problem. Because it's next to their planet.
Well, the problem is Eanden is kind of like the sad boys of the Eldar. Because they suffered such a huge loss.
Yeah.
The main thing that like they're basically their forces are made up of is things like ghost warriors and like Eldar dreadnoughts and like literally anything they can put their spirit stones in, because the majority of the Eanden forces are spirit stone warriors.
Yeah, they did.
They're basically they're like ghosts.
What can we utilize, because this needs to happen, right?
Yeah. Incidentally, one of the reasons that the Eldar and the Imperium don't get along is because they use stuff like the Ghost Warriors.
Because the Imperium, because the Eldar do?
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay. So this is from the Ghost Warriors. Inquisitor Croman from the Imperial Inquisition.
Hmm.
Such vile alien necromancy is despicable. It is right that we view them with suspicion. People who use these illicit methods, even if we are forced to work with them, we are not to trust them.
Well, not knowing enough about it, I guess they could think that their spirits would be
Yeah.
utilized after death.
So yeah, the Eandan Craftworld uses a lot of Wraith Guards and Wraith Lords, because there aren't that many of them. They're mostly dead,
Oh.
and so yeah.
Don't make me feel bad for the Eldar.
I'm sorry. The worst part about that is like they're now really strong because they've like perfected the ability to use like to construct and use like wraith guards and
Yeah, they'd
you
need
know
to if they get really good at it. So
the problem is it means that they can't let their dead rest. So you know they're like, yay, you fought off the Tyranids. Sorry you died. You did save us. Now you're gonna have to fight for another millennia, as a basically like skeletal husk. Thanks.
thank you. Carry on.
So they have to like continue like essentially they have to continually resurrect their dead to put into robots to go out on. They're very Necron, aren't they? You know, like
Yeah,
there's a little Necron to them.
judgy, and then I'm mixing a bit
And
of color here.
because they've had to do this so much, their infinity circuit, their world rune basically, is kind of flickering and dying.
Yeah, because I was thinking they can't repopulate it, I imagine. So they're just dwindling and dwindling.
Yeah.
And utilizing all the dead folk.
And the the world rune, like the sigil and the everything of Eanden is like translated into a light in the darkness. So yeah.
The darkness of the afterlife and the light is work.
Yeah, so so that's like the background on it. It's essentially because they don't have that many forces, and their forces they do have, they kind of have to resurrect their dead. They basically reached out to literally anyone who would be down for it. And Bieltan, another Craftworld, like pledged to help, and also the faction of the cabal of the Dark Eldar was like, yep, okay, yep, we don't want these two to join forces. We will help too. It was the cabal of the Black Heart. As I remember, Bieltan is the most like fighty. We won't go super deep into Bieltan because we'll end up doing loads of sidebars. But they have a tendency to like go to a planet they're fighting and just burn it, you know, like literal scorched earth.
Well, it's one solution, I suppose. It's not very useful for all the non-combatants, but
to be fair, in especially in recent times, they almost they well like I'd say almost they almost got destroyed, and their infinity circuit was corrupted by a Slaaneshi demon.
oops.
So they're in some shitty times themselves apparently. But yeah, anyway, those are the ones who decided to come and fight.
Yeah, I mean the Tyranids are must be such a massive threat, and as you say, they're only going to get stronger as they assimilate. So I get it. I get why they're banding together.
Yeah. So essentially, interestingly, the Dark Eldar were the one who figured out what to do. Basically, a psychically triggered device to spark the molten core of the planet, so that it would destroy the planet, the star system, and every Tyranid in it.
Well, I think when it gets to a certain point, that's the only
Yeah,
option.
yeah. It's like the Imperials like Exterminatus, where they like bombard a planet for but the Eldar, when they have no other options, they're just like, fuck it, destroy the system, whatever.
Bye.
The device was known as the Fireheart, which is
Mm.
unfortunately it couldn't be detonated remotely.
Oh,
So the people who detonated it, which is psychically active, which would be seers, would have to stay there and die with the destruction.
die with the destruction. Oh, that is sad.
So unfortunately, obviously they have to set this up and have this be a thing. Um, Essentially, the system, it was the Duriel system and the planet Valador. Uh, Essentially, the Eldar had to hold off. Like this is the thing, is they didn't even have to defeat them, they just had to stop them from meeting. So they had to insert themselves in between two hive fleets and stop them from meeting.
I just think that I would choose to not be an Eldar, thanks.
And then the Tyranids managed to breach the webway.
Oh, but so then it wouldn't have...
So essentially, not only were the Tyranids like fucking around in space and stuff, they also, because I think I am, obviously, again, I haven't read the book, but essentially the Tyranids who were put through the warp may have adapted so that they could do some warp fuckery.
Great. No, warp's not dangerous at all. Can you
So
imagine though? Tyranids,
mm,
I don't know how this would work, but Tyranids assimilating various chaos demons
mm,
like Nurgle. Then they all of a sudden can be plague ridden and spread that too. And Zinch, would they get a lot of knowledge from Zinch demons?
so do you want to know something really interesting?
Yes.
There's a non-canon kind of canon interesting. So it's essentially like there's a Deadpool book where it's like what would happen if Deadpool like kind of went unsane, as in stopped being insane, like Deadpool is insane. It leads to him murdering the entirety of the Marvel universe.
Oh.
It's really weird and it's really fun. Like, he does some really bizarre things. Like he traps Wolverine in a situation where he is consistently being burned and regenerating.
Poor Wolverine. He has such a bad...
Because Wolverine, like,
I know, but it
technically
hurts.
can't die.
Can't die, but it still hurt.
Yeah, and there's a few other, like, he kills oh God, who's the in Marvel, it's the Avengers, isn't it? So he kills like Thor
All right.
and like Iron Man, and literally everyone. He kills everyone. It's hilarious when he's fighting Spider-Man, because he's literally just like, yeah, this time I'm not letting you win, and quip and run away, and then he just fucking shoots Spider-Man in the head.
Oh.
But essentially, like, yeah, it's that type of thing. It's like a what if,
Yeah.
I guess. So it's kind of canon, but it's not actually something that's happened.
Yeah.
Essentially, it was an inquisitor decided to start an experiment, basically, and led the tendrils of a hive fleet, like Hive Fleet Kraken or whoever, to an orc world.
Okay.
So essentially what happened was the Hive Fleet and the orcs fought each other.
Yeah.
And the thing about orcs, it was like an orc warg, right? It was like an orc warg. And essentially orcs, the more they fight and the more they kind of evolve into being stronger, and like the war kind of like builds. And the Tyranids, the more they consume, the more they evolve and the more they get stronger. So this world that they were fighting on turned into this ridiculous crucible of evolution.
Yeah, like it'd be so quick, wouldn't it?
Until they got to the point where there was no longer two factions fighting each other, but just one faction that had evolved from itself. And that is when the orc Tyranids, the Tyrorcs, left the planet and destroyed the galaxy.
This is why no one likes the Inquisition.
Yeah.
This specific reason.
This specific reason. But I just wanted to, like put that in there as a point, because that's like, I would say it's more Tyranids than orcs, but honestly,
yeah,
I can't say.
But if they've had so much of it, then they'd be. I wonder if does it sort of adapt their physical and everything as well, or like I wonder if they solely ate humanity, for example, or absorbed humanity for a long amount of time, if that would filter out the benefits from the others that they had assimilated.
I don't know. Like,
you're supposed to know these things.
Oh, I'm sorry. but to carry on with the
Eldar that we were definitely talking about this whole time.
Essentially, Eanden was like, "Yo, the webway gate in Duriel has been compromised," so they had to order their Wraith God and everyone to go and like counterattack as they are being attacked through the webway gate. Literally just fighting non-stop the Tyranids pouring through the webway gate.
Man, that is gotta be rubbish.
They even like summoned an avatar. I think they summoned an avatar of Cain to fight.
Yeah. Need all the help they can get at that point.
Yeah. They did manage to like fight it back and then like force their way through the webway gate, because obviously the webway gate is on Duriel. And they were pouring through into Eanden. Yeah. So they arrived on Duriel, and basically were like, you hold off these Tyranids which are trying to swarm us on top of a fucking mountain, while we execute, plan, blow up the system.
Yeah, they need. Oh, very difficult. Just to wade through and get to where they needed to be to set it off, and then anyone who needed to get away.
The literally, even while the planet was like, because obviously they ignited the core and they caused the core to like destroy the planet, which destroyed the system. Even while the planet was coming apart, they were still holding off the Tyranids.
Oh.
The Farseer, who basically like led the counterattack, died there.
Yeah, I mean,
all the Wraith Guard who had to go through, because otherwise the Tyranids would keep coming through onto the Craftworld, all died there. And they still had to
Start a whole.
fight the Hive fleets, that weren't in the system, or
Yeah. Oh. Tyranids are scary. I don't know people who say that they're rubbish or anything like that.
Yeah,
Like when you
no.
actually look at them, obviously, I
On
don't know what the rules are on the tabletop for their roles and everything, but I would not want to fight a Tyranid.
They're not represented well on the tabletop, because the tabletop has to be fair, and the problem is like it's hard to balance a unstoppable
The Tyranids.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I don't blame like Games Workshop too much for them being kind of like underrepresented and like weak. It's mostly just that the rules behind close combat aren't as good.
Yeah.
I'm sure they'll get there at some point, but
or not, just put them in a corner and never look at them again.
Essentially, and like ultimately, the hive tendrils were about to meet. Pretty much what was going to happen is the hive kraken were about to absorb the tendril of Hive Fleet Leviathan. No, sorry, Hive Fleet Leviathan was about to absorb the tendril of Hive Fleet Kraken that had been like banished to the warp by the Eldar of Yandan when they would like essentially had to escape it. But just as it was about to happen, like not long before it was going to happen, the Dark Eldar hit.
Get him.
And essentially managed to delay the like combination, then combining long enough for the Fireheart weapon to end the all of the Tyranids in like the tendrils got destroyed.
So what you're saying is the Dark Eldar are actually the best.
The Dark Eldar were kind of the heroes, yeah.
Bet that's not told around the dinner table on Terra.
And the worst part for Yandan is like they didn't lose that many warriors and stuff, because they didn't have to put like they just had to counterattack and push them out and then send some through for the defense of the Firehearts until it could be kind of like triggered. The problem is they lost the majority of their Farseers.
Yeah.
And it basically meant like they didn't really have leadership and they couldn't really tell what was going on, or like, yeah.
Oh.
And then also, you remember we were talking about Uriel, the prince?
Yes.
He was involved in that as well with like some corsairs and stuff. And obviously he came back to save Yandan before, and he'd kind of been, a bit of a hero and stuff. He basically his weapon is called the Spear of Twilight. It's a really cool weapon, and he's kind of a badass. And he had been non-stop, without like rest or even like even anyone to talk to, had been fighting for like 10 years.
10 years?
Yeah.
Ugh. Didn't tell me it took them that long.
He essentially spoke to no one. No one saw him. He went and laid his Spear of Twilight in the place where he took it from, which is basically like a reliquary. And like I think that's part of the reason why he was exiled, because he took the Spear of Twilight and like
his spear that he's been using to kick ass.
It's like,
I know it's
it
like
wasn't his until he took it.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
And it's like what's yours is mine, and what's mine for the Eldar.
And he was basically like, yep, I'm done. I'm a die now. So as soon as he like puts the spear back, it like I think it essentially like eats away at your soul as you fight. Like there's a price
Oh,
for such power, kind of thing.
yeah.
Um, but one of the Farseers who was assumed to be dead on the planet turned up and was like, "Yo, sorry, you're not done yet.
Oh, just leave
The
him alone.
the galaxy's in trouble. Um, there's a possibility of restoring the Eldari Empire." And he basically this Shadow Seer essentially Shadow Seer Sealandry Veil Walker. And they're essentially Harlequin seers.
Mm-hmm.
They're fuckery. They're weird. And they essentially told Uriel that he was needed still, and showed images of the worlds of fire and demons loose and the Eldar gods returned. And he was like, okay, cool. He got the Spear of Twilight, stood up, and ran out to fight again.
What a champ.
uh,
Tired thinking about it.
and essentially he disappeared for quite a long time.
He's busy.
Yeah.
Living his worst life.
So yeah, that's the Valador, which is again another book I really want to read because it sounds like we went over the very basics of what happens.
Yeah, it sounds really interesting.
I feel okay with that because it doesn't stop me from wanting to read the book.
Yeah.
Because that I don't think there's even really spoilers. Like I guess there is, but it